This is an important question. Do we have an individual soul? Because the way we answer it is existential for our being. It's our unique perspective on life. This is of tremendous value.
Remember the song I wrote for you, the one you said made you fall in love that day. Remember the first time we held hands, our little secret on a London avenue that day. Do you remember any of our dreams? Just like children, we would spread our wings and fly. And how goodbyes would take forever, and how hellos would light up the whole earth and sky. If you remember, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you now? What does it mean?
The new year has begun its life. This reminds me of us humans starting our journey as individual beings with an awareness of self. Some teachings tell us that the ego is something bad, a sinful state which leads to suffering. We should get rid of it. I think this is partly true. When we connect with our soul space, the transcendent, we are in a self-forgetting state. As spiritual beings, we gain awareness that we are much more than this body, these thoughts, those feelings, this life history, this personality. But we are here on earth to experience something precious, individual life. Our souls crystallized in a dense dimension of time and space. When we are told to lose ourselves, it feels like breaking my heart. In my visions, I got a symbol, the rose. It stands for the essential, our individual being, our unique experience, our unique perspective on earth, which is given us for a lifespan. A precious rose, which is of tremendous value, not only for us, but for the whole. When we embrace our awareness of self and our connection with others, the transcendent, we gain a truly holistic view as mature beings in the universe. We embrace our heart. Today I talk about why you shouldn't try to get rid of your ego. There is one phrase which is quite popular in many spiritual groups and in groups with ethical intent. No matter if it's a yoga group, a women's circle, a random alternative community, one phrase you often hear. And this phrase is, get rid of your ego. Oh, you feel hurt? It's only your ego which is hurt. Oh, you want that? It's only your ego which wants that. Get rid of it. And when you get rid of your ego, you will become a truly spiritual person or a person with higher ethics. It's our sinful ego which leads to pain, to war, to all of those bad things. Get rid of it, and everything will become better. The world will become a peaceful place. I think that this phrase, that we have to lose our ego, is wrong, is potentially harmful, and can lead to spiritual abuse. And in this video, I will tell you 4 reasons why I think this, and not only think this, why this is my experience. But before I tell you those reasons, I want to explain why people have this belief, because there is some truth in it. If there wasn't any truth in it, people wouldn't be convinced that they should lose their ego and that this is something good. When you are in a spiritual state, when you are in a trance state, when you have mystical experiences, when you sink into your soul space and feel one with everything, when you are in a flow state, then you are in a self-forgetting state. You don't think about who you are as a person. At this moment, you open up, you become one with your experience. You submit yourself to love, to wholeness, to this holy experience. And it's a little bit similar to sexuality. Also, when you have a good sexual experience, you submit yourself fully and you forget about all the other stuff, and you are in the moment and you are aware and at the same time not self-aware. What people also mean with losing your ego is that you are aware that you are an eternal soul. You are not only this physical body. I'm not only Claudia. I'm much more. I'm an eternal soul, and I'm connected to the whole universe. The feelings and thoughts I have, yes, they belong to me in this life, but it's not everything I consist of. There is so much more, and it's much deeper, and there's a meaning behind it. There is even a meaning behind suffering, maybe. And the thing is, there are some people for whom it's more difficult to get into those states, into those spiritual states, mystic states, into trance states, to connect with their soul. And those people usually are more rigidly connected with their thoughts or their emotions or with their personality structure. For those people, it is important to realize that what they think they are, this material body, my life as Claudia, my thoughts today about this and that this is not my whole being. They need this holistic view and this soul depth. In order to give them a hint, some teachings say, oh, you have to lose your ego. And with ego, they mean this not realizing that we are much more. And there are also teachings which are more connected with this losing your ego philosophy. And this is, for example, Buddhism. In Christianity, you will not hear this usually. Still, you make these experiences with your body. And I make this experience as Claudia. So now I want to tell you 4 reasons why you should keep your ego and why it's better to use other words to describe those mystical experiences. Reason number 1 are psychological reasons and survival reasons. In psychology, ego is defined as self-awareness or ego consciousness, a tool to navigate through this life as human beings. It's our user interface. It's our command center. Yeah, it's much more than self-image. And what does this mean? We can identify ourselves as the person we are, as an individual, as a whole person. So this means that this voice which comes out of my mouth is not just any noise. This voice belongs to me, and it's me saying this. And those arms and those fingers and this hair and those teeth and those lips, those are not some random forms, random stuff somewhere. This belongs to me. It's also our name, our life history. The things that I did yesterday, it was me, not a random thing. I will be the same person tomorrow, so I can make plans for the future. It's not meaningless what I do today. With our ego consciousness, we are aware of time. Without ego, you couldn't make any appointments with other people. You wouldn't be aware of time. You couldn't live a normal life as a civilized adult. You would be like a baby or like a person with Alzheimer whom other people need to take care of. Ego consciousness is crucial to live a normal life, an autonomous life as an adult, a responsible life. Animals can't do that. Ego consciousness, self-awareness, it's something we humans have. And some people say, yeah, if you're spiritual, you should become like an animal and only live in the moment and forget about everything. We cannot do this. We are no animals. If we would do this, we would be worse than animals because we don't have their instincts and we are not made for being an animal. An animal is made for being an animal. It can survive in the wild, but we wouldn't survive without this ego consciousness. Second reason you should keep your ego. It's ethical reasons. So what happens if we don't see each other as human beings with an individual soul? We would lose our human dignity. We would turn each other into objects. We would dehumanize each other. We know from history, sadly, what happens if you dehumanize people, and this could happen if we don't see each other as human beings with individuality, with an individual soul, with an ego. And believe me, you don't want that other people don't see you as an individual being with your own soul. You don't really want that. Third reason why you should keep your ego. And this reason is about self-care, self-worth. It's about protecting your individual boundaries. There are spiritual groups where people are told to get rid of their ego. And what happens in those cases, and I've seen that several times, is that people don't protect their individual boundaries anymore, which leads them to open up to toxic group dynamics, which harm them. Some people who are told to lose their ego, they do things they wouldn't do in a healthy state when they are not manipulated. What people typically say in those groups is things like, oh, you don't want that? It's only your ego which doesn't want this. Your true soul, it wants to be one with the collective, and you should do what the collective wants. Why you don't want this? It's only your ego, bad ego. You feel hurt? Oh, it's only your ego which feels hurt. Your true soul, it never feels hurt. Yeah, this belief that you should give up your ego just makes people giving up their boundaries, their healthy boundaries, and it makes them being disconnected with their vital interest. It's like a manipulation technique. Some people even do it on purpose in order to make people follow certain group dynamics. But in most groups, this losing your ego ideology is not used purposely to harm people. People really think often that it's good. In the end, they manipulate each other to do things which are not in their own interest. So in most groups, they use this no-ego ideology unconsciously, and they are not even aware of how harmful this can be. The reason why some groups have this no-ego ideology is because they want to do something good. They believe that without being identified with our ego, we would love each other and there will be no war, there will be no fights, and we will be all one collective and there will be peace on earth. We will get rid of our toxic survival instincts and we will not hurt each other anymore because we are all one. But that's not how life on earth is. This doesn't work. This is not our human condition. We are here as incarnated human beings to make this experience as individuals. And we are here to have this survival instinct. It's an experience our soul wants to make. Losing your ego ideologies, they lead to more suffering in the end. And yeah, you can say also this is an experience our soul wants to make. Believing in those no ego ideologies for a while. Fair enough. Fourth reason why you should keep your ego. And this is a spiritual reason. And here the question is, do we want to be individual souls which will exist after this life? It's about the continuation of our individual being, of our soul. Religions answer this question in different ways. In Christianity, for example, there is a continuation of individual being. In Catholic theology, there's the idea of resurrection. It's about the resurrection of the body, which means not this physical body, of course. It means the resurrection of our individual being with God, with your whole life experience you had. Then there are spiritual teachings which combine this with reincarnation and which say, okay, the reason why we are here is because soul wants to experience itself and wants to develop and learn through a path of incarnations. Basically, this is a journey of development. And with different incarnations, we will become more and more wise, more and more loving. We will gain depth and essence. And then there are philosophies or religions or spiritual teachings which say that no, individual soul is just an illusion. We don't have an individual soul, and after we die, we will cease to exist. We will become nothing. This is an important question. Do we have an individual soul? Because the way we answer it is existential for our being. And I personally don't find the narrative very appealing where we cease to exist and become nothing. It's not comforting and it's not motivating for living this life. It doesn't go in resonance with my intuition. I believe that our soul is on a journey of development and it has an inherent birth. And who knows, this development, it's not only for ourselves, for me as Claudia, my individual being. The development of my soul and my experience, it's also something valuable for the whole. And I also think that we can be individual beings and we can have an individual soul and be connected with other beings and with the whole. It's like in a relationship. If you just merge with another person and forget yourself and forget your own interest, that's not a healthy relationship. In a healthy relationship, both people are aware of their own interests and they are aware of their own being. And only if they are aware of that, they can have a healthy relationship as adults and not like, climbing back into the womb of your mother. That's a backwards view. So now I come to the end again. And at the end, I usually talk about the symbol of this video. And the symbol of this video is the rose. Beautiful rose. And the rose is a symbol of love and life, but it's also a symbol of the essential. And this essential is our individual soul. The core of our being. This individual soul, the rose, is important not only for our self-worth, but for the whole universe. It's something special, something unique. It's our unique perspective on life. It's our unique experience we make. And this is of tremendous value. So the rose, the essential, the individual being is about value, an inherent value you feel inside yourself. And it's also connected with our heart space. When you are in contact with your individual soul, with your rose, you are in contact with your intuition, and it leads you from within. The rose leads you from within and shows you the real important things. It gives you a sense of meaning and importance. When you have this contact, you can make good decisions for your own life, but also on a deeper level for your soul path and for other people and for the whole universe. Thank you for listening.
Remember the song I wrote for you, the one you said made you fall in love that day. Remember the first time we held hands, our little secret on a London avenue that day. Do you remember any of our dreams? Just like children, we would spread our wings and fly. And how goodbyes would take forever, and how hellos would light up the whole earth and sky. If you remember, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you now? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Oh, if you remember, what does that mean to you? What does it mean? Remember when we had to part, but then we said, love will find a way someday. What does that mean? What does that mean to you now? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Oh, if you remember, what does that mean to you? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Oh, if you remember, what does that mean to you now? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Oh, if you remember, what does that mean to you? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Oh, if you remember, what does that mean to you now? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? Oh, if you remember, what does it mean to you? What does it mean? Remember the song I wrote for you, the one you said made you fall in